In a world of challenges and uncertainties, hope shines as a beacon, guiding us through the dark times and showing us the way to brighter days ahead. But what exactly is hope? Where does it come from? And how does it shape our lives? I'm Annie Bennett, and I'd love you to join me on this journey as I explore the meaning of hope. I'll delve into philosophical perspectives, personal stories, and scientific insights to understand the power of this elusive emotion. So whether you're seeking inspiration, comfort, or simply a deeper understanding of the human spirit, let's embark on this exploration together and discover the extraordinary power of hope. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Chronicles of Hope with me, Annie Bennett. I am really delighted that I have a very special guest here today. Now, I met Niki about a month ago, I think, at another event. And she's just delightful, a gorgeous person, full of gorgeosity. And she agreed to come on my podcast because I believe that she has a very interesting story. So I'd love to welcome you this morning, and it's Niki Kinsella. Hello, Niki.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Now, I must admit, before I met you, I knew of you actually because you've got a good social media presence, but I didn't know much about your story. And I since found out your story. Oh my goodness me. But I won't tell it because I'd like you to. Tell us the
Oh,
story of Niki.
oh, thank you. Okay, I'll start at the beginning.
Mm.
So I was born to a single mum who was shamed by her mum for being a single mum, and we lived with my grandmother, who was a raging narcissist for sort of the first 3 or 4 years of my life. So from being a very small human, I was taught to walk on eggshells, or I learned very quickly to walk on eggshells. And I was always a little nervous wreck. So when I got to school, I was a prime target for the bullies. So I was bullied all the way through primary school. It gets better. It's not a complete sob story, but just give you a bit of a background. And then my mum and dad, my my mum and stepdad split up, and we moved into our own house away from my dad. And my mum met this horrendous, violent, on all levels, horrible man who moved in really quickly. And there's I don't know which bits to miss out or which bits to start, but there was physical fights, emotional abuse. There was all sorts of horrible things happening that we were witness to as kids. And my coping mechanism from the age of about 13, I'd come from a big long line of drinkers, was going out and getting pissed, because it was just the normal thing to do back in that. So I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 1980. So by the time I was about 13, 14, I was able to get into clubs. I was able to go, and my mum was in such a bad way, bless her, that she didn't really take much notice of what I was doing as long as I was alive. So that was okay. Didn't have any money to buy anything. I had 4 jobs by the time I was 14, because if I wanted any clothes or anything, and my mum was working, but she was a single mum then. So had to sort of do all that. When I was 19, I met my very own narcissist, and we got married when I was 21. And I was literally like a butterfly in a box. So I didn't even know myself, didn't know where I liked, didn't know where I didn't like it. People pleased my whole life. I just sort of got through. I was a happy person, do you know what I mean? But I couldn't say no to people. I didn't have any boundaries. So married him, and he was very emotionally abusive. There's all other things that happened, but I've always loved woo. I've always loved weird and wonderful things and crystals and spiritual stuff, and the thought that there's something bigger out there. So when I was trying to read like self-help books and spiritual books, I was told they were a load. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, go on, go for it. I'll tell my mum to close her ears. It's fine.
I was told they were a load of poo, and
Yeah.
not to read. So I was sort of, that's when I sort of found it. We were trying for children at this time, and luckily the universe decided that I was with the wrong man.
Mm.
And it's funny because just before I left my husband, I did escape. This beautiful man came and rescued me. I didn't have an affair, just to be clear. I had my head turned and I was already really unhappy from sort of years of abuse. And it was like, so I went to see a psychic, and she said to me, take your wedding ring off because it's over, and it's been over for a long time. She said, you're going to meet a man, and he's going to love you more than you've ever been loved before, and he's going to have a big M. You're wearing a big M under your neck, and his name's going to begin with M, she said, and you think you can't have children, but you can. So my whole family had always had baby girls at 23. Me mum, me nan, me great nan, every baby girl was born at 23. Mine never arrived. And she says, you think you can't have, kids, but you'll get your baby girl. She says, but you'll have a boy first. Anyway, met Mike, he was born Nathan, he's now Indy, had Indy and then had Daisy. So that all come true.
Wow.
But so met Mikey, left, escaped, so happy, so in love, was able to have children, but never sort of really stopped people pleasing, and had developed another coping mechanism throughout the marriage, which was it was alcohol and drugs, basically. So that was what the weekends were fueled with. And what was happening there is it was numbing me for most of the week. So I didn't really have brain capacity to think about what was going on. I just like trudged through each week. But what goes up must come down. So I was having sort of panic attacks and anxiety and all of the things, but didn't know that I had all this sort of trauma-y stuff that had happened to me. I was just getting on with stuff. So fast forward, had Daisy, and I'd got a free child with my husband as well,
Right.
second husband. So there was Mikey and Indy, so he's Indy now. Then when I had Daisy, something happened in me. It was like I was looking at a little version of me, and because she was a girl, it triggered something in me that made me want to change, because I was like, I don't want her life to be anything like mine was. I was 33. I was starting to make changes in my life anyway. And I just, so found Reiki found me at the school gates one day. I met an old friend, and she was a Reiki teacher, master, whatever you want to call her, and was running some sessions, and I was like, I haven't got a birthday present, so I'll just have this for myself, and went along. And she was talking, and she was going, we're all energy, and everything is universal energy. And I was like, what? Like, she's even crazier than me. I was like, what is she even talking about? But when I started to actually put my hands on people and do Reiki, it was like a muscle memory, like deja vu. Like I'd known it my whole life, and it was everything that I'd been looking for, and I fell in love with this. So I'd worked my whole life in like corporate, I'd done recruitment and worked in a high street bank, and I left. I eventually left the bank to start my own spiritual business, but just before I got redundancy, which I was blessed to get, my biological dad got really, really sick. So I flew over to Germany where he lived to see him. I just didn't expect to see. We'd always kept in touch. I'd always known who my real dad was, and we'd always kept in touch, and had a bit of a relationship, and I'd seen him and things like that. So when I was 19, I'd gone over and I'd spent the millennium with him and all things like that. So I went into the hospital to see him, and he was in intensive care. He had this like lush dark hair and big deep chocolate brown eyes. He was in a band called Buster in the 80s. He was the drummer in a band. They were massive. They toured Japan with the gold disc. So he was famous in his time. And he was like a what was he? Sound engineer or something. Anyway, he was the light and soul, big energy. And he was this little, frail, skinny person with no hair. His eyes had changed colour, and he was hooked up to all these machines, and he'd got an autoimmune disease from a cut that he got on his leg, infected his liver, had a liver transplant, and then his body started kicking off and shutting down. So I went over to see him, and that shoved a rocket up my arse. That was like,
Mm.
oh my God. You know, we were joking about how when he come out of hospital, because he hadn't walked for months, and he had a colostomy bag and a
Yeah.
tracheotomy. So he was farting when he was talking, and we were laughing about it because he had a funny sense of humour.
Yeah.
We were saying, but when he come out, we'd put him in a backpack like Yoda and carry him up the stairs of his
Oh.
flat, talking about making steak because he hadn't eaten for months. Anyway, came home, and a week later, I got a phone call to say that he'd passed away.
Mm.
He was 57. I was like, right, okay,
Mm.
really young. So I can remember having a conversation with my mum and just being like, I didn't. It's funny when you lose a parent, it's like part of you is tethered. It's
Mm.
like a cut from part of you, and you're just attached to this other person. That's the only way I can explain it. And I didn't know, I'd never experienced grief before, really. I'd lost my granddad when Daisy was born, but that was it.
Mm.
I was dealing with this, and I can remember saying to my mum, don't you be going anywhere. She was like, I'm not going anywhere, I've got loads to do, blah, blah. Anyway, 6 months later, I was leaving the house to go to Asda with Daisy, shut the door, and my mum flew up in a little black Corsa, screeched the brakes outside the house, flung the door open, and then plonked herself on the wall in the front garden with her hands over her face and just started sobbing.
Oh my word.
And I was like, what's happened? Like, my mum was like driving Miss Daisy. She was just dead careful. And so for her to screech up like this, I was like, what's going on? And she'd had this cough for about 6 months, and she'd had this pain in her shoulder, and then all this water started happening in her mouth when she was waking up in the morning, and they were like, you've pulled your shoulder, because she worked in a restaurant, you've got a chest infection, it's fine, take this. Anyway, cut a long story short, she got sent for an x-ray eventually, and they found all these holes in her lungs and this mass, and she was like, they've referred me to oncology, and I've got an appointment next week already, and they think it could be cancer, or they think it could be tuberculosis. Is it TB or something? I
TB,
can't
yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
So we went for all these tests, and this was in the May, and by July she'd been diagnosed with stage 4 terminal lung cancer.
Goodness.
So I can remember being in the room when she got the diagnosis, and do you remember Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Yeah.
teacher? Wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah. So we went in and we sat down, and there was a Macmillan nurse in the room, and my mum just looked at me with these big eyes, and I was like, it's okay, whatever it is, we'll deal with it, whatever it is. And I'd worn my bestest, most beautiful top that was my lucky top, and I had my lucky earrings, and it was all a load of shit, basically. But I can remember getting the diagnosis and my mum just staring at me, and I was trying to listen to what the consultant was saying, but I couldn't hear her because it was just, it's that whole shock, isn't it? And we went outside into this corridor, and we just hugged and cried. And then we went home, and I was like, listen, just because it's terminal, all that means is they can't operate. It doesn't mean you're going to die. But to her, it was her biggest fear. She just literally heard terminal and thought death, and she just didn't have the mindset. Or like, she tried immunotherapy first, and that did work. It was starting to shrink, and then it didn't work anymore. And she had one bout of chemotherapy, and it made her bowel bleed, and there was all sorts of horrible things happening to her. She was in a lot of pain, and she just said to me one day, she's like, I'm just gonna surrender to it, babe. She said, this is my journey. She's like, I can't, sorry. And she said, pass me my jewelry box. And I was like, why? She said, because I want to give you my jewelry. And I was like, you can fuck off. But she made me pick the jewelry that I wanted, because she's like, I don't want you to have this when I'm gone. She goes, and I'm gonna go. It's my journey. It's fine. And made me pick the jewelry. And do you know what? She was so brave. She just literally. But the thing that broke her was that she was never going to get to see Daisy grow up. Her and Daisy She was there at the birth. She cut Daisy's cord. My husband had gone to a football match and was like, "Will you be okay?" Because our other son played football in London and he was in a tournament. And I was like, "It's fine." No, it wasn't. She came
Oh.
that day. It was because my mum was supposed to be there. But anyway,
Mm.
so that was like really the thing that, that broke her the most. And then within 12 months, she'd gone.
She'd gone. Oh, wow.
And I can remember looking at her in the hospice. It was funny when we got to the hospice. She'd been in the hospital and she was really, really poorly. And I'd rung the Macmillan nurse because they were trying to give her a colonoscopy because her bowel was bleeding. And I was like, it's a side effect from the chemo. She doesn't need one of them on top of all this. Anyway, cut a long story short, she went in the ambulance to the hospice with her little bobble hat on. She was the colour of Greg.
Mm.
Got her there, they gave her a blood transfusion, they gave her some fluids and a piece of cake. And I can remember her sitting there looking out the window and she had a view of this little like pond where all the birds would come and she went, "I want to die here." I was like, well, that's a fucking really nice thing to say. But
Oh.
she did. She did. She got a wish. She was in there. She was safe. She was so taken care of. And she
Mm.
was just the most beautiful person right till the end. But I can remember looking at her thinking, oh my God, you never got to go to the Maldives. And
Mm.
in that moment, everything
Mm.
changed for me. I was like, if anything has to change, it needs to be me. I need to make the changes. There's only me now. Like she'd always got me out the shit. If it needed a loan or
Mm.
something was the matter or I needed a babysitter or, she was my everything, my best friend, my rock. And then when she went, it was like, sorry, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if she was still here. And I knew she needed to go for me to do the things that I've done now.
Mm.
But it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And on the way home from the hospice, um, this massive flurry of dandelions, the little fluffies,
Oh, yes.
swept across the motorway and was swirling around the car. And it was like it was her soul. So
Oh.
every time I see a fluffy now, I'm like, oh, I had so many people send me pictures. Your mum was with me today. And I actually got the word surrender tattooed on my arm
Mm.
after lockdown because in lockdown I had to surrender a lot to myself to take back control over things that I couldn't control. But also it's a sign of bravery for me because it's
Yeah.
how we take our power back, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
forward from then till now, I literally left the bank, took redundancy, trained as a yoga teacher, Reiki master, meditation coach, all the holistic things that were helping me to heal. I was like, I am gonna help as many women as I can to heal along my healing journey, and I'm gonna make a change in the world. To my words of Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did, and that's what's happened. But she was a massive part of my journey. I don't think that would have happened. I got my own yoga studio, and my classes were full, and I was so happy. And then lockdown happened, and I just literally pushed myself online. I'm grateful for lockdown because although it was it was traumatic for a lot of people. It was one of the best times of my life. Like we were together as a family. We had the best summer. It was just that beautiful time of really finding myself. And
Yeah.
yeah, started to help other people to connect to themselves, talking about the chakras and the moon and law of attraction and all the
Yeah.
things that had helped me, but mindset mainly. And that's just where it all sort of came from. And I'm
Yeah.
so fucking grateful for everything that's happened, even though, I wouldn't change a single thing because
Mm.
it's made who I am
Yeah.
today. And my mission now is to just help as many other people to set themselves free and start their healing journey and remind them that they can do anything, like
Oh,
in
yeah.
the last,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a real believer in anyone can do anything. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the more it makes you want to shit yourself, the more it means you should do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. Embrace the fear. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. What a story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Because I can see it's obviously very, still a little bit raw for you. But
The moon.
it's almost sort of would you say it sort of made you the person you are now? You know, that,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't change a single thing. I
Mm,
go back to versions of myself. I do a lot of inner child healing. And I've gone back to lots of different versions of little me and held her and, told her it's okay and that it's going to get better and just those real sort of pivotal moments.
mm.
But yeah, it really does. We've we have to, I think when we experience the things like that, it creates compassion within
Mm.
us. And I think the more shit we've been through, the more compassionate we can be towards other people because we
Absolutely.
just never know, do we, what people
Yeah.
are going through.
Absolutely. And I'm like you, there's no regrets. I've done some stupid things in my life. Um, but you don't think, oh, I wish I'd never done it because because I did that, that happened and that happened and that happened, and this is where I am now. So, but I'm interested in um you were talking about your childhood. I mean, I was a teacher for 30 years, so I know little of, children and growing up and things. And it is, how aware were you that your experience wasn't everyone's experience, or did you think that was just normal? That was how people grew up.
From what age do you mean when I was being
You
bullied?
know, when you were, with your grandmother and your mother's partner who was abusive, was there sort of a um,
I
this is just
didn't
normal? Everyone?
realize.
No, no.
I just got on with it because, and I knew it wasn't everyone's experience because my best friend had a really stable mum and
Right.
dad. Her
Yeah.
house was just, I mean, her mum and dad had arguments, but it wasn't anything,
Mm,
like I'd been through, and she was never bullied. So, and I didn't realize until I started trying to be seen
mm,
online how much
mm.
the bullying actually affected me because being seen, I can remember speaking to my first business coach and I said, I feel like a massive knobhead because I'm scared of the bullies finding me. I was
Yeah.
38,
Yeah. It does
you
though,
know?
doesn't it? It's all those inner, they do say whatever happens to you as a child is how you are as an adult, unless you take steps to, unravel it and unpack it and everything. Did you have a childhood that you felt there was no hope, or did you have hope that things were going to change, or hopes for your future? How did hope resonate in your younger life?
So my nan was very, very negative, and it was like the cup wasn't just empty, it had a hole in the bottom. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? She was
Yeah.
nothing ever made her happy. And if you were happy, she'd go out of her way to make sure you weren't happy for long. So you
Mm.
didn't really sort of exude joy around her, otherwise she'd just piss all over your bonfire.
Yes.
So we sort of knew that and we maneuvered around her. But she ruled the roost and she was very controlling. And my mum and her brothers had a much harder time than I think I had.
Mm.
Um, but my mum wasn't like that. My mum was really positive, and my mum was like, "You can be anything you want to be, and I believe in you." And she was always my biggest cheerleader, and she'd always let me wear whatever I wanted to wear. Like I've always dressed like Mr. Tumble because I just love things that are a little bit different. Whereas me nan would be like, "Why are you letting her wear that?" "Oh no, my MacBook's gonna run out of battery. Hang on."
Oh no.
Just said your MacBook will go to sleep. No, don't go to sleep.
Quick, plug it
Oh,
in. Don't worry, we'll
it
edit this
did.
out. Or I might not
Oh,
edit
it's a
it out, actually. I might keep it
no,
in.
it's fine. I don't mind. So my mum had always like let me be this free spirit and installed hope in me, and it was only really when she'd never been in an abusive relationship, I think to the extent that she was when she left my sort of
Mm,
adopted dad. Um, and she didn't know what to do,
mm,
but she'd never, so she was managing herself while I was trying to manage myself, and I was just getting on. But I don't know, I don't think I did go through like bouts of depression when I was older, but I think that was due to what I was taking of a weekend that was really making me
right.
depressed, but also
Yeah.
being in a narcissistic relationship. But there was always hope because she'd always told me anything can change, you can do what you want. I always had that installed in me, but the whole belief system. So like your subconscious mind is formed by the age of 7, they say, don't they? So
Mm, mm,
all the things that happened to you before the age of 7, which to me was just pure bullying and narcissistic abuse, um, that that created who I was as I was growing up. So although I had hope, and I was always a really positive person, I always have been, and I think that is definitely thanks to my mum. Um, there was the, but you can't do that.
mm.
Money's the root of all evil. We'll never have. Rich people are greedy. He's got a Porsche, he must have a little dick. You know, things like that that I'd hear coming out my nan's mouth.
Yeah,
Really like neggy woman. But when you can hear whose voice it's in and you can take it back and you're like, that's not my belief, you can like start unpicking and oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah,
my tapestry of life has got the biggest holes in that I've unpicked because I'm like, that's not mine. You can have that. Let's
yeah.
put some flour there, and I'm not doing like because we
It's
have a
so
choice, don't
true.
we?
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm always saying to my bakers, just because your brain is telling you, I don't know, your cake's rubbish or whatever it is, you don't have to believe your brain. You can override it. It's because of the whole, the reptilian brain that's trying to keep you safe is the sort of bottom line of it, isn't it? But you do have an ability to override and you can make choices. And you clearly made there are times where you just made a choice and it was like, no, this is a no-brainer for me. I'm going to make a choice to make a change, which is just fabulous. So brave, isn't it? So brave.
Think we've got to be brave though, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I think now and now, so I got a diagnosis of ADHD last year, which I've always talked about having squirrels in my head, and now they're real.
Love
Um,
that. I love
but I
that.
think oh, honestly, I was like, oh my God, yes. And then I was like, oh, because I look back at the versions of me and the teachers, if Nicola could listen as much as she
Uh,
could speak, she would get on much better. And my boss in work, what is this chaos? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is fine. Like,
I
you
know where
sort of,
everything is. Yeah.
yeah, what do you mean? I know I'm doing that and this all at the same time. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I just stuck my middle finger up just
Yeah.
for
So
context.
listeners couldn't see that, but that was very funny.
And
Um,
also, I'd sort of play up to the ditzy blonde because I would forget what I was saying halfway through a sentence. I'd go into a room and forget what I was doing. I couldn't keep up or understand some of the things. So people would be like, Joe, and I'm quite literal as well.
mm,
So sometimes people will say stuff and it won't be funny.
mm,
And that's the punchline of the joke. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. And it'll take a while.
yeah.
Um, I get that now, but getting that diagnosis has really meant that I was a risk taker and I loved tickling the balls of my adrenal glands because I needed that dopamine hit, and it was all and everything's like, oh, okay, so I am an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah. Did it sort of did things click into place when you got your diagnosis and it was like, oh, I see it now. I get it. Was it a bit like that?
It was, but I sort of knew. And when I told my friends, they were like, oh, duh, like, yeah, well, we could have told you that, Nick. But the reason I got it was I just wanted, firstly, and I love my husband with all my heart, but he doesn't really believe in things like this. And he was like, it doesn't matter if you have. And when I got it, now I can sort of say to him, I've got a diagnosis of this, which means that you've asked me to do something and I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Even though I've written it on the back of my hand and set an alarm, I've still forgotten.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's part of it.
Mm,
And that self-acceptance and not going, oh my God, I'm so stupid, which I never shamed myself, but I did used to think, what's the matter with me? Why can't I finish things? I'd be writing lists and things and notes and then wouldn't do anything with them because I'd get distracted or I couldn't finish them because it was so fucking boring.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I make games up around things now.
Yeah.
That's one of my coping mechanisms is I'll play a game. It's like I have to tick these 5 things off the list today, or I can't have my piece of dark chocolate after my dinner, or I can't have this new purse, or do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
if you
Well,
do,
you work out ways. I mean, say you saw it with children all the time when I was teaching, children that did have these challenges. There are ways that worked for some and not others. And, you just work out what works, don't you? What helps you get along and get through the day and, not just get through the day, but, you're obviously building a business and it's to do with that as well, isn't it? But it's,
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
the coping mechanisms I didn't realize are all my spiritual tools. So when I had the diagnosis or the consultation on the, because I did it with an amazing company called ADHD 360, and they were fantastic. And it was literally, it took 2 weeks for the whole thing to be done, and it was amazing. So I did it privately.
yeah,
And the lady that did it, she was like, "Have you ever felt like this, or does this happen?" I was like, "Yeah, but now I do this."
mm,
So my grounding, meditation, essential oils,
yeah,
movement, all the different sort of coping mechanisms that I've developed have all come from the spiritual tools that I've learned over the years. And she was like, "Oh my God, I wish I could have recorded this call to show people, because I didn't think people with ADHD could meditate." And I was like, this is what keeps me sane.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just not,
yeah,
excuse the pun.
yeah. But yeah, but I mean, it's just wonderful that you, like me, found almost what your purpose in life is, what your niche is, what your passion is, and you're just going for it. And it's a wonderful thing to do that, isn't it? Anyone who's not doing
Oh,
it, do it because it's
so we had a conversation last night. I mean, I've run this little pod. It's a manifesting pod called Spiritually Rich, and one of the ladies inside was talking about how she wants to leave, but she couldn't because of money. And we were like, well, sometimes you just need to take a risk. And then everyone was like, what if you fall? What if I fall? But what if I fly? It's that, isn't it? Like, you've got to fall before you can fly, because you
yes,
have to get that momentum. And it was just beautiful, the support. But if you don't, it's better to have a what if than a,
yeah,
not a what if, oh well, than
yeah,
a what if, isn't it?
yeah.
Like, it didn't work, but oh well, I still did it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, 100. I love that. Better to have an oh well than a what if. Love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, because one of the things that I sort of teach and I talk to ex-teachers because I was 30 years a teacher and by the end of it I was, banging my head against a brick wall and it made me ill and all sorts of things. And now that I do what I do, I mean I did, there was the falling thing before I flew, definitely, and there were sacrifices but if you're prepared to do that, then the world is your oyster, as they say, isn't it? Definitely.
And I
Yeah.
think people are in a rush as well to get to a certain figure. So there's all like, it's battered around, isn't it? 10K months, 100K years. No, no, no. But
Bigger
actually,
business. Yeah.
yeah, it's big
Yeah.
business. I mean, my first year in business, I made £4,000.
Mm.
And that was in 2017. And now I have got a multi six-figure business. So it's doable, but it's the journey, like the journey I've had over these last however many years. It's just been amazing. I found myself,
Yeah.
and I know who I am, and I've forgiven and loved parts of myself that I wasn't proud of. There's no shame. I own it all. It's made me who I am. And I think that's what I help people do now as well,
So,
is like love the shit out of themselves so that they can live a life that makes them want to pee glitter everywhere,
yeah.
because that's
I
the
love that.
purpose.
Your hashtag, isn't it? Pea glitter. It's your podcast as well, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, keep calm and pee glitter. Yeah.
Oh, it's just brilliant. And I mean, you are walking proof that if you have a love and a passion for something, you will attract people because they think, oh, this is good then. If you go into a job or a career or a profession where you're like, "Oh, I really don't want to do this. Oh, it's really not me. And you're plowing, walking through treacle, you're going to be repelling people left, right, and centre. But find something you love. And, as I said, the world is your oyster, isn't it? It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Taking that risk, like what you said, and being brave and just
Yeah,
doing it. And
yeah,
and knowing that on the other side of fear is all this sparkly, amazing stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I looked at your website and I love listeners, go to Niki's website. We'll put the link in the notes, but go to her about me. The picture of you as a Christmas tree is just priceless.
Oh, I love
Face,
it.
the little face poking through. Oh my word. Oh my word.
I love it. I love
Gonna do
that.
that. So yeah, I'll ask you for all your links and we'll put them in the
Thank you.
show notes so that yeah, people can get hold of you. But I always ask, we'll sort of come to the end now. It's a shame because I could talk to you for hours.
Oh,
But I ask all my guests, if you have a message of hope, what might your message of hope be for my listeners?
I think it's there's always hope. Like there is just always hope. Like never give up.
Mm,
Follow your joy. I think is my like if you I don't know what the message of hope is, but it's just you always have a choice
yeah.
and like you get to choose. And I think there's a lot of shoulds and we've wrapped ourselves in all these layers of what the world has told us we should be. And but actually there's only one you and
Mm,
you are here for a purpose. So be you, like unravel and just choose what lights you up, and that will make you a magnet for all of the opportunities and possibilities.
wonderful. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Now, Nikki, if people want to get hold of you and want more of your woo pea glitter, how can they get hold of you?
Oh, thank you. So my website is nikikinsella.com. All of me is on there. I'm on Facebook as Niki Kinsella. I'm on Instagram as Niki Kinsella. Not Niki Kinsella 80 because that was me hacked one.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll put all those, I'll ask you for all those links and we'll put them all in the notes so that people can come and find you and find the Christmas tree photo because it's brilliant. Niki Kinsella, thank you so much for being with me today. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you for listening to the Chronicles of Hope podcast with me, Annie Bennett. I hope you've found inspiration, comfort, or perhaps even a newfound perspective around the meaning of hope. To find out more about the aims of the Chronicles of Hope organisation, please visit www.thechroniclesofhope.org, where you will find links to our social media accounts and where you will be able to make a much needed and appreciated donation. Thank you.